Hello, it's Victoria from Weppy, and in this video I'm going to be explaining the difference between lossless and lossy image quality. So these are two approaches for compressing data, usually images, audio or video. As we're using the Weppy tool, we are going to be looking at image compression. So to explain it simply, lossless shrinks file size without discarding any data, so the original can be pretty much perfectly reconstructed. And lossy shrinks files by permanently discarding data that is deemed less important. And it's usually things and details that the human eye won't really notice easily. So when you're compressing really large images, we typically recommend you go for lossy because it's really hard to notice for the human eye. But if you do need to retain data, like if you're looking at medical images or scans, you may want to use lossless so you're not losing any of that data in the image. I'm going to upload a Weppy image and I'm going to pull it from my downloads, and you can see here I've got this bike image. It's a Weppy. And then when you come into the quality tab on the right hand side, you have an advanced accordion drop down, and I'm going to open that, and you can see here I have the option between lossless and lossy. So for most of our marketing images and photos, we actually want to use lossy because it means that it gets us the bulk of the file savings, and that is pretty much what Weppy specifically is known for. So I just want to make sure that my formatted output is Weppy. And then when we look at the slider for lossless, and lossless is more suitable for things like logos, screenshots, or like I said, medical images or graphics and so on, where you don't want to have any quality loss, we've got this slider fast to maximum. So fast means this is low effort, it's faster to encode, and it's good for slightly larger files, and if you need things to process a lot quicker. Maximum means maximum effort, so the encoding might take a lot longer to export and compress. So unless you're batch processing and getting a lot of large images through Weppy, we do recommend putting this up all the way to 80 or 90, whatever you'd like. So I'm going to leave it on 85 just to be safe. So that is for lossy, and I'm going to run this and then we'll see how much it compresses to. So in fact, this is something I compressed earlier, so I'm going to upload the correct version and try that again. Right, so now I have my correct version. It's a PNG, which I'm changing into a Weppy, and it's going to be lossless. So you can see it's 12.5 megabyte. I'm going to run it, and you can see it took a little bit longer than usual. It wasn't instant, but it was still very fast. And you can see here, I've saved 76% of the file size and I've compressed it into a Weppy. So I'm going to show you that. And you can see here, it's pretty perfect. It was a perfect PNG before, and now it's just a perfect Weppy. So it's really high quality. And then we're going to switch it over and look at lossy. So again, we have two sliders. We have speed, and then we have the same effort slider here. I'm going to leave it as it is, and I'm going to rerun it. So you can see here, it compressed it a lot more. It took a bit more time, it took about 5 seconds, but we saved 94% of the image, and that's because we lost some of the data in the image, but it shouldn't be too visible to the human eye. So I'm going to open this, and we're going to do our test of zooming in. And it shouldn't affect quality pretty much whatsoever, and that is why it's lossy, but it's perfect for marketing images and photos because you don't notice the loss in data. That's why we say it's only appropriate to use lossless for medical images, for files and things you don't want to lose data out of. And that's it. That is the difference between lossless and lossy. And we do recommend having a read up if you are compressing specific files, but the typical rule of thumb is just switch it to lossy, set the quality somewhere between 75 and 85, and push the effort all the way up to 90 to 100, and you'll be left with the perfect images. And that's it from me. I will see you in the next video. Bye.